Okay, hi guys. What we are going to do right now is interpret our plans. However, they are set to a scale of 1 to 200. So we have to use our new knowledge on translating these to scale. What we need to do is transfer these to a usable scale that we can use in a model making exercise. And by doing that, we shall also be able to create a series of drawings that we can submit for our own projects. The other drawing we have, which I haven't distributed yet, but I will do, is a slightly more focused drawing of the theatre. I think this is from the first floor because we have the addition of a gallery inside the actual performance space and a mezzanine seating area. We also have what's called a section which shows us the archway now, and we've got a long section here as well, so you can see we've got the archway coming there, and we've got a person for scale, and we can see that let's try and annotate this a little bit. Alright, so you can't zoom, which is a bit of a shame. So, can I zoom the camera? Yeah, so we've got this archway. The archway here, what we're going to do is measure this, basically put this into AutoCAD already, and I've measured it from a known, or as much known as I possibly can do, measurement, which usually would be a doorway. Again, you can just use the measurement of 900 width for a standard door, and then I scaled the drawing accordingly, so everything was done, and we'll learn about that in future sessions. But for now, what I'm able to do is, the first thing I noticed was this archway is significantly less arched than in the real world. So whoever's drawn this drawing hasn't quite got the arch nailed down. But that said, what we can do, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to fake the archway because it's not exactly like this, but what I will do here is plot in our actual dimensions. So for the section HH, we have a width of 550, so that's 5 meters and a half, or we could say 5,500. The height of this section to the base of the arch to the floor is 4,000. And when I'm talking about units, these are in millimeters. Okay, so we must make sure that we are always using millimeters. Now the center height of that arch here to here is 5,000. Okay, so we've got a 5,000 height, 5.5 width, opening to opening, and a 4,000 height to the base of that arch. Okay, moving over to the windows. We can see that we have a series of rectangular windows. We've got 5. And what are we looking at here? They are 1,200 wide. The other thing we've got obviously is these small dome windows at the top here. They'll still have the same width, but the overall height there is 850. And that's the height from the top of the dome to the base of the dome there, 1,200 wide. 5 of those, and that gives us a spacing of approximately 630 between each object. The heights of the windows are 3,000. Okay, so the windows are 3,000 by 1,200, and 850 by 1200. Okay, so if we were to move over to the actual theatre again. Okay, so we are focused on this area only. Okay, we can do some quick measurements here. I have got 11,100 for that entire length, the back wall of the theatre. I've got 680, 6,800 for the width, and I have for the length of the auditorium 10,000. And the distance here is, let's see if this all makes true. Well, basically we know the measurement here, don't we? That's 5.5. So if we know that's 5.5 and it's in the centre, what does that make that number there? 2800. So that measurement there is 2800. Okay, so hopefully that's clear as mud. Now we do notice here that we've got a bit of a, so we're looking at 2800 for the gap between this wall and this wall, but there is going to be residual material left over from the archway, and let's just see how that goes as we plan the model ahead. Now what we need to look at here is how we're now going to be changing that over into our model making exercise and how we translate those works over. So essentially I've got a blank sketch here. What we want to end up with, okay, what we're going to achieve here is just a quick illustration of our theatre. The difference there is going to be 6,000 height. Okay, 6,000 height. Now when it comes to our next step here, we need to know that our object roughly in the centre. Okay, just putting a mark there, and here that's going to come down. You wouldn't quite see the end there. Okay, so we've got our centre point. We know that our archway starts approximately here, and now I've got to try and figure out how to get a curve to go around here. Not the best. Maybe if I go this way. I'll take it. Okay, so we've got our curve. I can erase that section there as our centre line. And what we've got here, again, let's go back into the ISO mode, because we do have, so that line will extend there. Okay, there's our shape. So now we need to plot on some measurements from our known dimensions and actually to convert the scale. So in our drawing we know that this is 6800 and we know the overall length is, let me put it up here, 11100. We know that this measurement is a little bit, visually a little bit off. Our archway would be quite a bit smaller. So what we'll do is we'll fake it. we know that that is going to be 28 something. I'll tell you the better way to go about that would be to know the known measurement here is 5,500. The height is going to be 6,000. And then if we were to take these measurements off Archway, we are looking at 4,000. And then the top of the archway is 5,000 as per the CAD drawing. Okay, so I think this is a little bit different to how things are visualised in the real world, so you do have a bit of artistic license to interpret that how you wish. So what we need to do now is make a model at 1 to 100 scale. We could also do measurements for 1 to 200, and we can see which one we want to do. Realistically, I'm looking really for a model the size of this tablet, which is about an A4 sheet of paper. For the layman, so we're looking at around 300 by 200 approximately, and what we'll do is we'll do these dimensions, we'll do the workings out, and then we can determine what scale might be best for our model. So with that said, we all have our scale ruler, and what we need to do here is navigate to the scale that just talked about, but I do have 1 to 100, which is pretty exciting. So the translation of this is quite straightforward. So 1 centimetre equals 1 metre, and that's how we interpret this process. So 1 centimetre equals 1 metre, 2 metres, 3 metres, 4 metres, 5, etc. So if I was to make this model at 1 to 100, as you can see, my dimension is 1100. So really my model would only be 11.1 centimetres, or 110, 111 mil, which really is a little bit too small, isn't it, for our project. So if I was to do 1 to 200, fortunately that's quite a straightforward translation. So 1 to 100, our object, let me zoom out again, our object would be at 1 to 100 would equal 11 centimetres, 0.1, okay, or 111 millimetres. Now at 1 to 100 and 1 to 150. Now the way that the scale works is, let's see, so we've got 1 to 100, which we've just determined is 1 to 100, which is 11 centimetres, 0.1, or 111 millimetres. The way that scale works, as we saw from the presentation, is that the lower the number goes, the bigger the scale. So we exist at a scale of 1 to 1. Yeah. What we need to do here is determine the size difference between 1 to 100 and 1 to 50. So the way that we can do that is I can double this up. So 1 to 50 22.2 centimetres, or 222 millimetres. So if our longest width is 22, yeah, I've got double the length, 11 metres, that's how long our wall will be. I wonder if we could go to 1 to 25. Machine a little bit of juice. So 1 to 25, let's see what we can figure out. 1 to 25, that's going to be double again, isn't it? So that's going to be 4 centimetres, or 4 millimetres. Easy mode. So that is actually going to be quite big. So I've got a decent sized ruler here, at 4. That is going to look to be this wide, which is off the camera. And our depth is going to be, we've got to figure that out, haven't we? (6,800 mil) at 1 to 25 equals, now how do we do that if our ruler doesn't go all the way? We've got 1 to 20, 1 to 25, half a metre, 1 metre, 1.5 metres, 2 metres, 2.5 metres, 3 metres, etc. So if we go all the way up to, let's see, do the calculations here. Our ruler doesn't go that long. So how are we going to figure that out? The way that I would figure that out is if we did that on the calculator. We could do the measurement 6800 divided by 25, and that will give you the millimetres. So 6800 divided by the scale, so in this case it's 1 to 25, equals 272 millimetres. So we are a little bit bigger than A4, we're about A3. And I think that's quite useful because that means that we can make bigger models, which has a couple of advantages and a couple of disadvantages. It means that we will be creating bigger objects, which might mean a little bit more detail, but it also means that it doesn't have to be quite as fiddly for you guys, and the explorations in the volumes, the light, the shadow, might be a little bit more straightforward. So what we can do is we'll at least make this together, and then as an extra exercise, you could go away and create those side elevations. With the windows. And that will be a little something for you guys to work on yourself, okay? And that might work quite well for context. You might want to make that as two separate entities anyway, and they can just be pushed together. That way you can take the auditorium and the walls away, and you'll be able to get the camera in the arch and get some nice quality or high quality front elevation images. You could then put the auditorium back in with the light, with the windows, shine some lights through the windows with the camera slightly set further back, and see how that modifies things. We can also think about how we might want to break this model apart, so we can take photographs, and we might have it so we cut out a section of this wall to take out completely. That way when it comes to photographs we can take that wall out, we can put the camera in here and take a high quality shot from this side. Again, we will be taking shots from all over the directions, typically from an eye level perspective. So what we can do now is figure out all these measurements for this project and turn these into model making scales that we can work towards. So what I'll do here is what will I do? I can't zoom out anymore. Maybe I'll use a different colour. That would work quite well. Let's use this nice vibrant magenta. So we know that at 1 to 25 this measurement is going to be 272. We know that the height's at 6,000. Our rulers don't go this high, so let's use the ruler, the calculator. 6,000 divided by 25, 240. 11,100 divided by 11,100 divided by 25, it's 444. And we know that the width, 5500 divided by 25, 222. Sorry, 220. So the opening of the archway is 220. The height of the wall before the arch is 4,000 divided by 25 is 160. And the overall height is 5 of the archway. Is an additional 200. So that should be sufficient for us to get started. So to break this down a little bit further, we need to figure out what it is that we'll be working on. It's a shame we don't have any more zoom out capacity. So what I'll do is I'll go back to black and I'll go back to just a normal line tool will be fine, and let's draw this out. So we knew that, how might we break this down? We need a floor, a base, we need 2 side walls, we need a front and a back wall, front and a back, and we also need to put that cutaway arch. So there's really only 5 sides of material that we need to work with at the moment. Kind of make this as a bit of a breakaway drawing. So we have our floor plan. We have our side wall. We have our other side wall. Just kind of guessing with the measurements here just to kind of approximate their sizes. And then we've got the front archway. And that has this cutaway. Nice. So we know that now we are using the model making millimeters of 220 by 160 by 200 okay, yep, and that centre line goes all the way up. Now what do we need to do? We need the overall length, which is 444. Now this will go for all of these objects. 444. So that's obviously the same all the way along. And the height is 240. So this is 444 by 240 high, and that is 272. So when you get a drawing like this and you've got a few measurements dotted around, we can assume that if that's the case, we can use that measurement for all of those lines that are the same length, can use this measurement for all these lines which are the same length, and this measurement for those walls. Okay. So how do we go about making that an actual model? Let's go ahead. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sheets of card. Let's tighten my workspace a little bit. And see what materials we've got. Alright, so we've got a few different types of materials here to play around with. Really it's going to be down to you on how you want the model to look, to determine what the model is, material that you will use. Really a lot of the images will be monochrome when you take the photographs, and maybe we can play around with the actual set itself. It's quite typical in set design practice to use just a matte black card. That way you know, the actual theatre itself disappears and the objects in the building come to the front, and maybe we can use that. This is about 1.5 mm thickness, 1.4 mm. You know, it's not going to be crazy that we use the 100% accurate measurement, but we will try our best. This is a mount board. This is what you call mount board. You've probably seen this before, but this is solid black. It's a very nice material to use. This is grey board, funnily enough, and this again is maybe 2 mm thick or 1.5 mm. Let's have a quick look. So yeah, this is 1.5, 1.6 mm. This is a recycled material, and for that reason you get all this really visually enticing speckled surface. It's a little bit denser to cut, given the fact that it's a recycled board, and then we can also use corrugated card. We have this in the studio a lot. It's great material, it's very quick to cut and it glues very well. This is quite an open corrugation. As you can see, the one in the studio is a little bit denser, and actually is a really nice material to work with. So what I'm going to choose today is the black card. Okay, so I don't currently have any A2 black mount board, so what we'll do is we'll get some more of that in stock. So until then, what I'll do for the base board, because it's a bit bigger than the black stock that I've got, is I'll make the base out of the grey. And okay, so 272. So you could put a little mark on there. That's fine as well. It's a bigger piece of material, so physically got to move over here. Ruler is not long enough either, so bring out the big guns. Line those up. Right. That is going to be 440, which I could probably use my smaller ruler for. So yeah, the actual marking in here is a little bit trickier to see because of that material is somewhat textured. So maybe a big pencil line will be beneficial. 440. Across. use my Stanley blade for this one. Okay, so there we go, nice bit of material surplus. My desk is getting messy, so this is a pretty big model. And the fronts, so I do the fronts with this material. It's a little bit weeble wobble, but I'm sure it will be okay. Let's do one at a time. So this is going to be 470. $240, I believe. Okay, so I've got front, by 240, back 440 by 240, and they should be okay to fit on here, like so. Fantastic, looking good. We now need the sides, which I need to use a different piece of... Alright, so let's get one of those fronts in and put in this archway. So let's find the centre. So 22. So 220. Okay, so yeah, with it being 220 overall, well that's the height, isn't it? No, 220 is the opening, the aperture of the arch. I'm just going to come and do that. So I've put the centre line in and measured half of 220, which is 110 either side. I can do that up here as well. Sorry. And that can go be marked. And then we need the measurements 160 up. Okay, and 160 up. This one. And then we've got 180. So this is the CAD data at 180. So that arch is only going to be doing that. But really, that visual, we go online and look. So it's just shy of the same size again, isn't it? Half again? Let's do half again. So if it's half again, are we going to have enough space on this room material? So it's 160 plus 8, you know, we're not. So what we could do is put in an extra 4, 5, 6. Let's just do that. So it's 220. And we've now got to do this. So what I would recommend we do here is get a piece of paper. Do I have a piece of paper? Put that where it needs to go. From that edge to that edge. And now we have the lovely grid that we can follow along. using our reference. So it does actually go up and then across, maybe a little bit more like that. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so here I can carefully cut that around. Maybe you guys can do better. Let's see. Alright, not too shabby. So now I've got all of our components, our sides. Just like our drawing. So what I'm going to do now is use the engineer's square, and I've got these guys called V blocks, and these are going to help me make the shape square. Okay, so I've got my spare bit of card, just an offcut, and I'm going to put some glue on that. A lovely PVA glue. You don't need too much. And I've got a stirrer from the coffee shop, or you can indeed cut part of your card away. Careful not to put your... And you can create your own. And there's no right or wrong answer here. So the thing we've got to worry about really is making sure that our walls can stand up on their own. And I think what I'm going to try and do here is stick it onto the top. We might have made a bit of a boo-boo by making them all exactly the same size, because what that means then is that these things are not going to fit. They're going to start to overlap. But you know what? Maybe I'll do that now. So for my widths, I'm going to shave off the sides. I'm going to take off the front thickness and the back thickness. Which is 1 mil. So I need to take 2 millimeters off this. It shouldn't be too difficult. He says, looking for his little ruler. Move that glue all the way over there. So a bit, I'm just going to take a bit off. And again for this side. Okay, so now what I need to do is put the side on and the back on. So I'm going to use the whole length of the back on the top of the board, and then I'm going to put the side on the inside edge. Okay, now I don't want to use buckets of card for this, buckets of glue. I just need to use a little bit with my new 2mm rod applicator. I'm going to scoop up a little bit, and I'm going to carefully apply that to the base. Yeah, you don't need loads. But for this, because it's such a large piece of card, you will need your engineer's square. I'm going to try and aim for the very edge and slowly lower it down one edge to another. Obviously making sure that I've got a millimetre thickness here for my front and a millimetre piece at the back. And I can use this square to push that into position. There we go. And that won't take long at all to bond. So, can I do the same on the other side whilst that glues? This should take about 5 minutes to pretty much completely set. I do have a second one of these. So whilst that is gluing, I'm going to get on with this. Oh no, should not have moved that.